When my aunt sent me that video, it felt like the ground disappeared beneath me. There they were, my parents and my older sister, Grace, sitting around the old oak table in our family home in Asheville, North Carolina. The same table where we used to play board games and share Sunday dinners. But now, bathed in soft afternoon light filtering through the Carolina pines, they were speaking about me like I was nothing more than a nuisance. Mel only helps because she has to, my mother snapped, her southern drawl laced with venom. After everything we've sacrificed for her, paying the mortgage is the least she can do. Grace let out a bitter laugh. Yeah, and she walks around like she's doing some huge favor. Please. She's always thought she was better than us. The worst part? My father's silence. Just a quiet nod. The man who used to sing me to sleep and tape up my science fair posters now silently agreed as they picked me apart like I was a stranger. The video was grainy, filmed through a slightly cracked window, probably with a shaky hand. But their voices were crystal clear. I watched it 3 times. Each time, I felt less shocked, and more awake. For 4 years, I'd been covering the bulk of their mortgage through my LLC, Cedar Ridge Holdings. They thought they were making payments to a local lender, never bothering to read the paperwork my advisor had carefully arranged. I handled 85% of the payments. They contributed what they could, unaware that the loan and title ran through my company. Aunt Robin's message followed immediately after the video. You needed to see this, Mel. I've stayed quiet for too long. This isn't the first time. I sat in my apartment sunroom, staring at the spreadsheets that detailed every cent I'd poured into their house, more than $230,000. My heart should have been racing with rage, but instead, I felt an eerie calm as I opened the mortgage agreement. There it was, plain as day, the purchase option clause. Kate, my financial advisor, had insisted on including it just in case. I remember her tone when she said it. Like she knew something I didn't. The next payment was due in 12 days. For the first time, I knew exactly what to do. I texted Aunt Robin, "Thank you for the truth. Don't worry, I'll keep your name out of it. But things won't stay the same anymore. I've always been their silent safety net, the fallback they pretended they didn't need. When the real estate bubble in Asheville burst and they faced foreclosure, I stepped up. I was 29 back then, leading a development team for a Fortune 500 company. But they never took my work seriously. Software's a hobby, not a career, my mom would sniff. Grace is the one with the real talent. Yet Grace, their golden child, had run their business into the ground in under 2 years. Back then, I consulted Kate. Her solution was brilliant: form an LLC, buy the house through it, and let them think the payments were going to a bank. That way, I could help, without them feeling like they owed me anything. But now, with the truth in hand, I finally saw the irony. They thought they were talking about a burden. They didn't realize they were sitting in the house I owned. And the clock was ticking. Protect yourself legally while helping them. That's what Kate had said when we first drafted the agreement. At the time, it felt like the perfect solution. I could support my family without bruising their pride. Cedar Ridge Holdings LLC became the official mortgage holder, and I quietly supplemented their monthly payments behind the scenes. They kept their dignity, and I kept the house, and, in a way, the family, together. Only my Aunt Robin knew the full truth. She had overheard Kate and me talking during a holiday dinner a few years ago. "You're too good to them, Mel," she had said, shaking her head. "They don't deserve the way you bend over backward." I had defended them back then. They're family. They might not understand my choices, but they've always been there for me. Now, as I watched that video for the 4th time, those words felt like a lie. She owes us. What a joke. The least she can do. Each phrase echoed like a slap, twisting deeper each time I replayed it in my mind. I opened my laptop and logged into Cedar Ridge Holdings. The next mortgage payment was due on the 15th, just under 2 weeks away. They'd never missed their portion before, always prompt. But now? I had no intention of covering the rest. Not this time. Let them figure out how to explain it to the bank. Let them face the consequences of their ingratitude. They had no idea that their burdensome daughter, the one they mocked, was actually their landlord. And sometimes, karma just needs a little nudge. The video wasn't the end of it. The next day, Aunt Robin sent screenshots from a group chat called Family Finances, a thread I'd never been included in. Apparently, it had existed for 6 months. Every message was a fresh betrayal. Mel thinks she's so special with her fancy tech job, Grace had written. She barely helps with the mortgage, and I'm the one running the family business. My mother's reply made my blood go cold. We should ask her for more money. She's single, no kids. What else is she spending it on? After all we sacrificed for her, she should be doing more to support this family. I opened my financial records. My hands trembled as I ran the numbers again, even though I already knew the truth. Over the past 4 years, I'd contributed $267,843 through Cedar Ridge Holdings. My family? Just $52,500. I had been silently covering nearly $5,400 a month without them ever realizing it. Right on cue, my phone buzzed. A message from my mother. Sweetie, can you come to dinner this Sunday? We need to talk about something important. I didn't even have to guess. They were about to ask for more money, probably served with a side of guilt and emotional blackmail. The thought of smiling through dinner, pretending I didn't know what they really thought of me, made me nauseous. Instead, I called Kate. I need to know my options, I said. With the purchase clause. I figured you might call, she said calmly, not the least bit surprised. You remember the agreement. If they miss a payment, Cedar Ridge Holdings can exercise the purchase option immediately. You'd own the house outright, and they'd become month-to-month tenants. A plan began to take shape in my mind. And if they were late on rent? Well, North Carolina eviction laws are very clear. You'd be well within your rights to give them notice, Kate said gently. Then she paused. But, Mel, are you sure you want to go down this road? I thought about it. About the years of backhanded comments, the smug looks, the expectation that I'd always pick up the slack. I thought about Grace tanking our dad's company while they praised her business instincts and acted like I was just a kid playing with code. I thought about every insult veiled as advice, every dig at my single life, every "she owes us" uttered when I wasn't in the room. Yes, I replied calmly. I'm sure. But I wasn't going to say anything yet. No warnings. No confrontation. Let them think things were normal. So I texted my mother back, of course, I'll come to dinner. Looking forward to it. I even added a heart emoji. Irony was the secret sauce in this game. And if there's one thing they taught me well, it's how to keep a straight face while playing a role. 13 days left before the mortgage payment was due. For the first time since this entire arrangement began, I had no intention of covering it. If they fell, they'd fall on their own. Sunday dinner was a masterclass in restraint. I arrived at 6 sharp. The sun was just beginning to dip behind the Blue Ridge Mountains, painting the Asheville sky in warm lavender and gold. Their house, my house, technically, looked exactly as it had since I bought it for them under Cedar Ridge Holdings. The smell of my mother's pot roast filled the air. She always used comfort food as currency. A tactic. A trap. Mel, sweetheart, she exclaimed, arms outstretched in her perfectly tailored sweater. Her diamond bracelet glittered under the hallway light. It was new. No doubt bought with money that should have gone toward the mortgage, now due in 9 days. Grace sat at the dining table, flipping her sleek hair over one shoulder. Hey, sis. Good of you to make time for your real family. I smiled, remembering her group chat messages mocking me. I always make time for family, I said. The irony burned at the back of my throat. My father entered from his study, glasses on, holding a sheaf of papers. Bank statements. I caught a glimpse. They were preparing their pitch. Before we eat, my mother said sweetly, placing the roast on the table, we wanted to talk to you about something important. I nodded, ladling mashed potatoes onto my plate. Of course. What's on your mind? Grace leaned forward. Well, you know how things have been with Dad's company. The market's a mess. Even though Asheville real estate's been booming, I thought but didn't say. We've been thinking, my mother continued, reaching across the table for my hand, her expression tender, her tone thick with martyrdom, about how truly blessed we are to have a daughter like you. You've always been so successful, and, well, your father and I gave up so much so you could have that life. The show was flawless. Emotional manipulation in 3 acts. The mortgage, my father added, in that stern, patriarchal tone he always used when he wanted compliance, has become a bit of a strain. And with you doing so well in your computer job, my mother offered. Software development, I corrected, not missing a beat. They never bothered to remember the actual term. Right, he waved off, as if my career, my entire life's work, were just a hobby. I smiled again, steady and unreadable. They had no idea who they were sitting across from. But they were about to find out. Well, my father said dismissively, we were thinking maybe you could pitch in a little more with the monthly payments. After all, this is your family home too. If only they knew how much of it already belonged to me, on paper, on record, and in reality. We're only asking for an extra $2,000 a month, my mother added quickly, with a rehearsed sweetness. It's not a lot, considering your salary. I took another bite of pot roast, chewing slowly, carefully. They wanted more. They didn't even know I'd already been covering over $5,000 every single month for years. The audacity was actually, almost impressive. I'll think about it, I said, keeping my tone neutral. Things are a bit uncertain right now. Uncertain? Grace scoffed, rolling her eyes. Please. We all know you're doing just fine. Unlike the rest of us, some of us are actually trying to keep Dad's legacy alive. I smiled to myself, imagining the notification they'd receive next week when the payment defaulted. You're right, Grace. Sometimes we all get exactly what we deserve. After dinner, I excused myself to use the bathroom, but I took a slow detour past my father's study. The door was cracked open just enough for me to hear them. She's not going to help, Grace said, voice tight and bitter. Did you see her? Just sitting there like she's above all of us with her tech job. Patience, my father replied. We've got another card to play. Remember those investment docs I found in her cloud backup? She synced to our Wi-Fi last visit. My stomach dropped. I hadn't used a VPN last time I'd been here. My cloud had synced automatically, and they'd snooped. She's hiding money, he continued. There's a company called Cedar Ridge Holdings. It's an LLC, and it's doing very well. She's been building wealth instead of helping her family. I raised a snake, my mother snapped. We'll give her one last chance to help, voluntarily. And if she doesn't, I'll remind her of that little incident in college. She stole from the business account for tuition. She thought we never knew. But we have proof. I almost laughed aloud. That stolen money had been a tuition loan I took with Dad's full permission, after their check bounced. I'd paid it back in less than a month, with interest. I still had the emails. Their attempt at blackmail was weak. Desperate. And if that doesn't work, Grace added coolly, we can always reach out to her company's HR. Ask some questions. Maybe hint she's been unstable, or using company tech for personal side projects. That'd get some attention. The way they spoke, so casually discussing sabotaging my career, sent a chill through me. These weren't people who loved me. They were scavengers circling something they thought was dying. I slipped back toward the bathroom, flushed the toilet for show, then returned to the dining room. A few moments later, they filed in too, all grinning with overly polished smiles like they hadn't just plotted my downfall. Mel, dear, my mother purred. Have you had time to consider what we discussed? About helping a little more with the mortgage? I looked up from my tea and met her gaze calmly. Actually, I have, I said. You're right, family should help family. I paused, letting the moment stretch. I'll have an answer for you in about 8 days. The timing wasn't random. Their next payment was due in exactly 8 days, and this time, I wouldn't be paying the rest. They were about to find out just how much help I'd already been giving. And just how quickly it could all stop. The mortgage payment was due in 8 days. And I knew exactly what would happen when they missed it. Cedar Ridge Holdings would no longer be just the invisible safety net. It would reveal its true owner. 8 days? Grace asked, eyebrows raised. Why such a specific timeline? I stood and gathered my purse, adjusting the strap on my shoulder. Just need to run some things by my financial advisor, I said lightly. You know how it is, being careful with money is just good business sense. I smiled straight at her, using their favorite phrase like a mirror. My mother walked me to the door, wrapping me in one of her perfectly rehearsed hugs. We knew you'd understand, sweetheart. Family always comes first. Yes, I replied, my voice warm but even. Family always gets exactly what they deserve. As I drove back to my apartment, I called Aunt Robin. You were right about them, I said as soon as she picked up. I'm sorry, honey. I hoped I'd be wrong. Don't worry, I said, glancing at the neatly labeled folder in my passenger seat. I'm done playing the silent partner in their little drama. It's time for the final act. The week dragged on with painful slowness. My family began a full-on pressure campaign. Texts every day, subtle guilt trips, dramatic updates about overdue bills, and increasingly desperate pleas. Each message only strengthened my resolve. I forwarded everything to Kate, my financial advisor. She was already helping me prepare for the moment of impact. The paperwork's ready, she confirmed in our meeting 3 days before the deadline. Once the payment is missed, Cedar Ridge Holdings can exercise the purchase clause. I've also prepped the eviction notices, just in case. I nodded, reviewing the neatly bound documents. And you're sure it's airtight? They can't challenge it? Completely legal, Kate said. Your dad barely skimmed the agreement 4 years ago. He was too desperate to notice the clause. You're covered. That evening, Grace launched her own attack. Hey sis, her text read. My friend in tech said layoffs are hitting hard this quarter. Must be stressful for you. Lucky you've got family to fall back on. Speaking of which, about that help we talked about. The manipulation was so thinly veiled it was almost laughable. I showed the message to Aunt Robin over coffee the next day. They never change, she said, shaking her head. Your uncle and I saw it years ago. It's why we pulled away. Did I ever tell you they did the same thing to your cousin Mia? Snooped through her files when she visited. Always looking for something to use. I frowned. They went through my cloud storage last time I was there. Robin looked unsurprised. They're always searching for leverage. Are you ready for the fallout? Because it's coming. I thought about their plan to reach out to my employer's HR. The veiled threats. The emotional manipulation. I'm ready, I said. They made their choices. Now they'll face the consequences. 2 days before the payment was due, my mother called. Mel, she said, her tone all sugar and stress. We need your answer about the mortgage help. Times are tough, you know how it is. And family needs to stick together, I finished for her, calmly. Don't worry, Mom. Everything will be very clear, very soon. That night, I received an automated email from their bank. Payment failed, insufficient funds. They'd tried to transfer their portion to Cedar Ridge Holdings. But they were already overdrawn. I forwarded the notification to Kate. Here we go, she replied. Want me to start the proceedings tomorrow? I stared at the message, thinking about the pot roast, the fake hugs, the smug smiles. And I typed back, yes. Start everything. I thought about that dinner. Their smug faces. Their easy discussion of destroying my career like it was a game. I thought about the years of manipulation, the emotional tightrope they made me walk, the endless guilt trips, the constant demands, and the sheer depth of their ingratitude. No, I typed back to Kate. Let them wait until the payment officially fails. Let them spend the next 2 days thinking everything's fine. They'd taught me well. Timing is everything. I opened my laptop and began composing an email to my company's HR department, outlining my family's threats, their attempted blackmail, and attaching screenshots and audio files Aunt Robin had helped me gather. I was done being caught off guard. The end was in sight, and I was leaving nothing to chance. Sometimes, I muttered to myself, the best revenge is just letting people deal with the consequences of their own actions. The morning of the deadline arrived. At exactly 9 a.m., Cedar Ridge Holdings' automated system sent the default notice. I stared at my phone, counting down. It took 12 minutes. Mel, my mother's voice came through, panicked. Something's wrong. The bank says we defaulted on our mortgage, but that's impossible. We need your help immediately. Actually, I said evenly, Cedar Ridge Holdings isn't a bank. It's an LLC. My LLC. Silence. What? She finally whispered. Check your email, I said. You'll see the notice. Due to your default, Cedar Ridge Holdings is exercising its purchase option. The house is now legally mine. Your status has been changed to month-to-month tenants. This is a joke, she stammered. No joke. I've covered the majority of your mortgage for 4 years while you insulted me behind my back, called me a burden, and planned to blackmail me. You even tried to sabotage my career. How did you? Uncle Jason showed me. The video, the group chat, the voice recordings. I've seen everything. I paused. Now, about your tenancy. Your first rent payment is due in 30 days. I suggest you start looking for another place to live. My father's voice suddenly cut in. They had me on speaker. You ungrateful. Careful, I said sharply. Is that how you want to talk to your landlord? I let that sink in. The eviction notice is ready. Don't make me serve it earlier than planned. I ended the call and blocked their numbers. Within minutes, my inbox lit up like fireworks. Distant relatives, old family friends, acquaintances I hadn't spoken to in years. How could you? Family forgives family. You're being cruel. Delete. 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 Some debts can't be paid in apologies. And some forgiveness must be earned, not demanded. 3 months later, I stood alone in the now empty house. My heels echoed through the vacant living room as I took in the quiet. They had finally moved out the week before, forced to downsize to a modest apartment across town. They had tried everything, threats, guilt, legal tricks, but the documents were airtight. Every clause, every signature, perfectly placed. In the end, they had no choice but to accept the truth. Grace's pathetic attempt to contact my employer's HR department backfired spectacularly. Thanks to my preemptive documentation and Aunt Robin's support, her claims were immediately dismissed, and flagged as malicious. The report to her real estate board triggered an ethics investigation that ultimately ended her career. My mother's final act came in the form of a voicemail, tears, sniffles, and the line that had once made me drop everything. How could you do this to your own family? But the answer was clear now. They had shown me what family meant to them. And I had finally believed them. I walked through the kitchen, the place where it all began. The same table where they once sat, casually calling me selfish and ungrateful, while I quietly paid their bills behind the scenes. The irony lingered in the air like stale perfume. Later that afternoon, Aunt Robin and her husband were coming by to help me get the house ready to list. We'd already scheduled an appraisal. The plan was simple: sell the property and use the proceeds to launch a foundation supporting victims of financial and familial abuse. Something real. Something good. My phone buzzed. A message from Kate, just heard from their attorney. They're finally signing the last set of documents. It's really over. I stood in the doorway and took one last look around. The quiet was different now. It wasn't heavy or bitter, it was peaceful. Empowering. They always told me family comes first, but they never specified which family. So I chose myself. And for the first time in years, that choice didn't feel like a betrayal. It felt like freedom. It felt exactly right. I never thought standing up for myself would feel this quiet. No applause. No grand confrontation. Just a steady, calm kind of power that comes from finally choosing me. After years of being dismissed, used, and manipulated by the very people who were supposed to love me unconditionally, I reclaimed my voice, and my future. If you've ever felt like the invisible one in your own family, like your success only matters when it benefits others, I want you to hear this. You are not selfish for setting boundaries. You are not heartless for protecting your peace. Love without respect isn't love, it's control. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. To those who've been the quiet backbone, the silent supporter, the one everyone turns to but no one truly sees, I see you. And I hope my story reminds you that you're allowed to stop shrinking yourself to keep others comfortable. Please leave a comment below. Tell me what part of this story spoke to you most. Have you ever had to make a hard choice to protect your own well-being? What helped you through it? I'd love to hear your advice and your stories too. And if you believe choosing yourself is a form of strength, not selfishness, show your support. Because we deserve to be seen.